Are we? We're
lively this time. Well, we were lively before we went live.
Brent was singing, so.
We had a lively discussion about Robert Palmer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember why I said that. You said doctor. And then
Doctor, give me the news.
From there.
It did. It doesn't take much.
doesn't take much.
Yeah, we try to save the banter for when the camera's on, but sometimes you just can't stop.
Chad's gonna just turn it on one time, and
It happens before the camera comes on.
better be careful.
That way, 'cause my parents are that way. Where like you can say anything, any phrase, and it triggers a song from like the old timey station, and they both will break into it.
The
They'll start a
Gaithers?
duet, and they'll sing like two.
Your mom and dad love the Gaithers.
Yeah, they do. They're fans
Before the camera came on.
Yeah.
but they're like these walking jukeboxes. Like,
Are they?
yeah, really annoying. I mean, kind of.
Well, your dad always listens to like older.
Well, they used to listen to like obviously like the golden oldies.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, we'd have a fight between me and my brother wanting, the mighty 690 out of Tijuana, and my parents having the golden oldies, and they would win. It was their car. But and now I love the oldies.
Yeah. Now that.
But dude, they know
Every time I get in your dad's car, though, he's listening to the oldies.
well now they
satellite radio.
Sirius or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he can get the kind of gospel that he likes.
Oh yeah, the Gaithers.
Yeah.
The Gaithers.
Oldies, that depends on who you're talking to.
It's true.
An oldie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean now it doesn't work. What I'm saying.
It's an oldie but a goodie.
Like 90s are oldies now.
Mhm.
Classic.
Yeah.
Classic rock is the 80s.
Yep.
Yeah.
Britton, how's
So.
your microphone this week?
Well, it was messed up again, David.
I wonder who's doing that. Nobody's come admit it.
Somebody's, oh my word.
We walked in and like the cutting board, like for like cutting papers and stuff, is like right when you walk in, like it greets you, and it's like who thought they should set this here and leave
Yeah,
it here?
makes sense.
And then like
It's
we
not like
walk into
anybody
the
can get hurt using it.
and then we walk into the office and like one of the chairs is like kind of out in the middle of the room, like faced a weird direction. Me and Brent kind of looked, and I'm just thinking, I know that the guy's wanting cameras.
I
Like
want
he's
cameras.
wanting
I want them now.
Those are called church trolls.
Well, I don't. The mic
gremlins.
that's driving me crazy. But
little gremlins.
yep.
We have that too.
I'm sure you can't. Yeah, avoid it. It's just the deal. But it's weird.
Yeah.
Good to have Pastor Jeff with us again, by the way.
Yeah. Good to
and,
be again.
And the David
The David.
and Chad and Brent.
Yeah.
Somebody emailed us this
The
week and they
David.
said I want to hear the David, Brent, and Chad's opinion about this.
They gave me a definite article.
So
The one and only.
The,
it's like, wow, we're finally there
the
now.
David. is
The
what I
David.
read.
The
The, not the,
David.
but the.
Yeah, I kind of like it. Maybe I'll keep it. I don't know.
Jeff's been a
It's not
guest
like the
enough.
Donald, is it?
I don't like the Donald
I did think of that.
or the Don.
There we go. Jeff's been a guest enough where you're not really a guest anymore. You're just
No.
like a regular.
Jeff's a reggie.
I only wanted to set
Regular.
that. I only wanted to set that up so I could say the David.
Yeah,
That's all.
exactly.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I saw.
You're
I
gonna
knew
sing a
exactly
song
what
too
you
about
did.
it.
Yeah, yeah.
But Chad did say something later. He's like, "Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? Well, especially the David. What do you think?
Yeah.
Let's
It's
check
gonna
with-
stick. He's
Check
just
with
the
the
David
David,
now.
and if he's good with it, then I guess I am."
What it means
They're
is
gonna have like a bust made of your head.
they're not going to get over this.
No.
If the tables were turned, they'd be fine. The Brent,
The Brent.
the Chad,
that doesn't even have a ring to it.
but it was the David.
No. The
The
David,
David.
like it sounds like it should just be.
I'm gonna start using
You
that
know.
now.
That's pretty
The
good.
David over at the door.
It was weird.
Yeah.
I think it was a mistake.
Sunday
I'm
mornings-
hoping it was a mistake.
This Sunday morning, Chad, and I'll be like, "I'm Pastor Brent. This is Pastor Chad. The David's down at
Yeah,
the
the David is
down at
location.
Lapine."
Yeah, this is a whole new deal,
Dang.
isn't it?
It's gonna be good.
These guys gonna be a Brent and a Chad.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly, exactly.
All right.
All right, what now? Are we there?
We have
Apologetics.
3 weeks until the Spurgeon Legacy
You
event.
got 3 weeks.
Yeah.
It's coming fast, and just reminding people to pray
Yeah,
because there's a lot of moving
Yeah,
parts,
it's coming quick.
and we want to get it right. So pray, please.
Yep. I talked to Todd the other day. Got him going, so
cool.
Yeah,
he's gonna be ready. So
pretty exciting.
Yeah. What do we have sign up? 30?
Yeah, ish.
Yep.
Yep. Hopefully
I
we get
sort of
more.
figure if we have 50, that's a great.
That's what I first thought. Like if we can get 50 coming to the first one, that's a good number, and
Yeah.
and then gain momentum from there. So
Well, even if we have 30, because those people will go back
Yeah.
and tell
Word of
other
mouth will
pastors
train.
in their area.
They'll
and
tell 2
it'll,
friends.
It'll
so
crawl.
on.
Yeah, exactly.
And maybe we're like I think we have an April date nailed down, don't we?
Yeah.
An April date and a speaker. So
Is it April 8th?
that sounds
Might be
sounds
the 10th.
familiar.
April 8th or 10th, I think. Andrew Murch from Northwest Gospel is going to come and speak. And I'm trying to get Zach Eswine to come in October. So
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
we'll see.
Yeah. So we're getting a little ways out in our scheduling, which is
Yep.
good. That's where we want to be.
Yeah.
How are we going to top tri-tip every time?
I don't know.
'Cause we're gonna
We're just going to have it.
We're going to have to up that game every time.
We'll do tri-tip beef dip sandwiches.
Tri-tip wrapped in bacon.
Yes.
There we go.
Tofu maybe next time.
No, come on.
Oh,
Brent,
yeah.
Brent, you're fired.
They'll be coming from far and wide for that.
Tofu sandwiches.
Yeah, no.
Bring in more chairs.
Yeah, that'll
Yep.
be the last pastors conference we ever do.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. You're like, wow.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to continue apologetics, unless there was something else you guys want to talk about.
No, we're good. Go.
I
This is
think we
kind
covered
of
it.
week 2. Has someone ever walked up to any of you guys and, because you're a Christian, and said, like, tell me the reasons you believe in God. Tell me the reasons you're a Christian. Have you ever been gifted with that?
Yeah. Actually,
Seriously?
Really?
Yeah.
Dang, I thought you
Early
guys were all
on-
going to be like, no.
Early on in my Christian walk as a new believer,
only.
I was already, going to Bible college, so I was pretty smart, I thought. And I had a guy that came up and he wanted to have that conversation, and I went through everything I knew and thought, this guy's going to get on his knees, bow down, and say, what must I do to receive Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior? He did not. And he ended up pointing at the way Christians treat each other as the reason he
We talked
wouldn't
about that a little
believe.
last
It was like, ouch.
That ought to be
Yeah.
a good apologetics.
It was kind of
Yeah.
And then even at the last
It's
one,
a bad argument, but it also hurts to hear as a Christian.
No, it stunk because it was like Jesus said, people are going to know you're like the real deal,
True.
my disciples, if
way you
you
love one
treat
another.
each other with love and charity, and we don't.
Yeah, it's a valid testimony.
Yeah.
we
and
forget,
yet,
like, oh, you're a Christian. I can treat you however I
Yeah.
want.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that wasn't even one of the things
wait
on the
a
list of what we're
Right.
going through today, but that's a huge apologetic
For sure it
for
is.
the reality of Christ,
For sure.
alive and in us is
sure.
the way we treat each other. So.
Yeah.
Love and respect. It has to be a part of our apologetics.
Yeah.
I
Anyway, that question came up at the
Yeah.
youth retreat I did this summer
Oh, okay,
with
cool.
all the students that were
Nice.
there at the lake thing that we went to. That question came up a ton. So got to talk
Really?
about it there. Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
how do we know that God's real? Or
Yeah,
what?
how do we know God is real? How do we know He exists? Because there was a lot of non-Christian kids too, and so we did they can fill out notes and put them in a box, and
Yeah.
at the end of the week we, try to answer them.
Yeah.
And that one came up repeatedly.
Did you always believe in a God even before you were a Christian?
Yeah,
Like the reality of an entity?
I mean, I always, I was raised Roman Catholic, so I had the Roman Catholic doctrine
Right.
kind of embedded in me at a young age. So I always.
but
did.
even internally,
Yeah.
apart from the church, did you always sense that
yeah,
God
never
was real?
never a time I doubted it.
Yeah, I came to faith at a young age, and it just was instilled in me my whole life, and
Yeah.
I've always had that belief.
What about you, Jeffy?
Same.
Okay.
Yeah.
So none of you.
What about the David?
the David? Same. The David says same.
Good.
This is weird. This is getting weird with this.
Sorry, dude.
It's weird. No, it's okay, but it's weird to hear it. I kind of like it. I'll get used to it.
Got the hair.
So none of us have ever been on the other side of this where we have really desired an answer for why other people think God exists. Like, we've never really been challenged with.
Not one for myself, but
Okay.
but having things locked down, good answers to give
Yeah, yeah.
people is important to me. So
Right.
I love these kind of conversations, and,
Sure.
and even the video you sent that we were looking at.
Yeah.
Because it's I don't know, something we should all know as Christians.
We should know. I've never been asked that question. I've never in the 30 plus years of being a Christian had someone walk up to me and go, "Please tell me why you believe in God."
Yeah.
I think that would be a gift. Like, but then I'm thinking like, oh, how would I answer that? Because it's never happened.
Right.
And so
Yeah.
I've been watching this dude for a little while. He's a guy that he goes to college. I always respect anybody that will go to college campuses and just get railroaded by non-believers, like who are willing to put themselves out there and just get thrown under the bus, which most of them do. This one today was an exception where it was very cordial and very respectful. And that will happen with this dude once in a while. But basically the guy that we're looking at today goes on college campuses. I don't think this is the greatest responses that we can get for why we believe in God, but I do like that there's multiple ones that are in one place that are
Sure.
pretty good. And then I
Thought-provoking.
did like the interaction. I did like how respectful it was. I like this kid a lot. I like
Yeah,
his
I agree.
honesty. I do think it was honesty. A couple of us maybe thought like maybe this was staged because it can almost seem like it was. I don't think it was. I think it was
Only because
like,
of the amount of kindness, the respect that went back and forth.
Yeah.
Usually in
Yeah.
these things is not so.
Well,
it's
he
not so
goes to that
nice.
same campus regularly, and so
Yeah.
people he has come to form relationships of certain
Yeah.
people that know they know each other even if
Yeah.
they disagree. So there is some respect if you watch some more of his videos. But then there's also those people that come in and just
How do
pile
you-
drive him.
How do you say his name?
Cliff Nettle.
Nettle.
It doesn't look like that.
I was going with Connectal.
I was too for a while. Connectal. Yeah, it's nettle. I
Sounds
think,
like some kind of cool toy to play with.
Yeah.
Connectals.
So I think this is a 15-minute clip, this interaction. Basically, this kid walks up to him and says, I'm agnostic. But like I wouldn't mind. I like hearing everybody where they're coming from so that maybe I can move my agnosticism in a direction.
What maybe define what that is versus an atheist?
They basically say they're non-affiliated. They don't know. They don't know who it might be or what it might be. They think it could be something. So they're not closed off.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't think atheists exist, and I think in future episodes
agree with
here we will talk about that one
Good.
and why, because
True
it's just
atheists.
it's just a cover story
Yeah.
for unbelief.
Yep.
When
So
agnostics are in pursuit of knowledge.
there you go.
Correct.
That's the
Wherever
difference.
it comes
yes.
from.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I like the fact that this doesn't like what even Craig is doing here. We're isn't in proving that God exists,
Right.
But it's giving us. It's like you can remove reasonable doubt
Yeah.
by just
Right.
paying attention to a few things. So
Yeah.
and he does a good job of it.
That's what got me thinking on this, and what got me interested in this particular video is I remember thinking to myself, even though no one's ever walked up to me and asked me this question, I should have a couple answers in the hopper
Yeah.
that are very accessible and even quick. Things that don't require hours and hours to explain. These are shallow. I mean, you could go deep into any one of these. He gives 5 reasons why he believes in God, and so I think we'll just kind of move through the clip. I think the way we need to do this is Chad's going to have to be hot with this pause button, and anytime you guys want to
pause button, don't worry about it.
anytime you guys want it stopped, just like point at him or put your hand up or just say stop, and we'll have you stop and we'll talk about it. So let's just
All
start
right.
moving through it.
So hopefully we won't have. I'll just kind of caveat this. Hopefully we won't have any technical glitches here.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out how to do this, how to run videos. And
Yeah.
At the same time.
Yeah. All right. So I'm going to do it, and you can just tell me when to stop.
If you had a scientific question, you would go to a scientist, and I presume you would expect a rational answer. And if you had a philosophical question, you would go to a philosopher, and perhaps less rational but still cogent, you would expect an answer. I have a religious question, and I come to you as a religious man to answer it. Right here, right now, I'm not an atheist. I can't equip myself with moral relativism. I'm an agnostic, and I envy your faith. I want to know why I should believe it's more probable that there is a God than there isn't. You don't have to prove absolutely that there is one. I just want to know that it's more probable that there is than that there isn't, and I want you to show me.
This is easily Cliff's most educational debate, where he presents his
This is
5
just a-
reasons for God's
Weird
existence.
insert.
All credit to
Commentary.
Cliff and give me an answer for the clip used. Let's dive right in.
Let's dive right in.
All right.
Oh,
Sorry. You pointed. I thought you meant stop.
So the last time we did this, I thought that they couldn't hear it. Nobody
like,
could hear us. man.
David's right in the mic. Can they hear us? Just like-
Yes, they can.
Well, last time I muted the mic. This time I didn't mute because
Okay.
too many
Okay.
buttons to push.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
All right. All right. So I'm going to hit play again. Are we good? All right.
Thanks for asking that honest question. I appreciate it. The reason that I believe that God exists is because of certain evidence. First piece of evidence, the order and the design of the cosmos points me to some type of intelligent mind, because my experience in life is, in order to bring about order, I got to work real hard. And when I get sick, I don't go running to a neophyte. When I get really sick, I go running to a highly, highly trained doctor who understands the order and design of the human body. My experience in life is order demands an intelligent mind behind it. It doesn't come about by chance. Second piece of evidence for me.
yeah. All right. I want to stop there.
Well,
I got
kid-
2 snaps on that one.
The kid's
Yeah.
actually going to come all the way back around to this too. Like he's going to move through like 3 or 4 of his reasons,
Yeah,
and then the
come
kid's
back.
going to go back and
Yeah.
rediscover
Right.
those reasons. But first is what's a neophyte?
A newbie, as somebody who's untrained or a newbie.
Thank you, Brent.
Yeah, sure.
Did you look that up or did you
No,
already
it's
know that?
there's a verse that talks about when you're bringing on a deacon, you don't want to bring on a neophyte. It's that.
It actually translates to
yeah,
neophyte
it
or
translates
from?
to that.
Okay.
So somebody who's not very established in their faith.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I went to
Christian,
Genesis 6 with
Yeah.
neophytes. That's, you know.
All right.
It's a good word. Well, I like this where he starts
Not
because I think
Neanderthal, neophyte.
correct,
Yeah.
probably similar.
And not Nephilim. That's where I went.
Yeah, not a giant, a newbie.
Okay.
I like where he starts out. This is where I would start too, and this is usually where I go if somebody asks that question as far as
order.
Well, even the idea of intelligent design.
Yeah.
Okay.
So order and design both.
So this is really cosmology.
Yes.
By the way, we talked about this a little bit last week, and that's part of why I like this. I don't mean to interrupt.
No,
I just want to insert this real quick. Is that the 5 reasons he gives are actually different streams or approaches. They're different sides of apologetics, and that's part of what we need to do is we have people approach us and we get the opportunity to do apologetics with someone is to discover where their biggest challenge is. Because not everybody has a problem with cosmology. Not everybody has a problem with biology. Not like sometimes the big one now is morality. It's the immaterial things, which he's going to hit too. Anyway.
Right.
All right.
No, I think, when I think of Romans 1, that we should, I'll just read it so I don't mess it up. For what can be known about God is plain to them because God has shown it to them. For his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so men are without excuse. So there's, you can look at the order, the way things are designed, and that there's got to be an answer. You can't, every effect has some kind of a cause. You can't just get all this out of nothing.
Right.
And, the quote I use all the time, and I still love it, Isaac Newton said, there's more evidence in the human thumb to convince me that there is a God, that God is real. Yeah. It's just not, it's not hard to know that. People want to deny it.
Yeah. And this is where the argument comes that atheists don't exist. Like there's acceptors of the truth and rejectors.
Yeah. Romans 1 kills it.
Yeah.
Well, and the reason it becomes the argument that there is no intelligent design, there's no God, is that it's a suppression of the truth.
Yeah. Correct. Because
that's
what Romans says before that.
It's like you're suppressing the truth of what's out there.
Yeah.
And I like I think especially inserting intelligent design.
Yes.
Right. That there is a God because of how you look at you can go back to Genesis and look at how God created the world, and see the intelligent design that's been placed there and has been going forward from there.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think just the human body by itself is.
Correct.
You take one piece of it. Take the eye or the thumb, and there's just no way to describe that or explain that it all of a sudden just kind of it just
comes
well,
by accident.
Even the order that we see in the universe, the way that the tides, the seasons, that you can just go on and on and on and watch all this stuff that is just specifically ordered, and there's no other explanation. It's not this random chance kind of thing. And again, the other verse that I love is Psalm 19. The heavens declare the glory of God, and the sky above proclaims his handiwork. Day to day pours out speech, night to night reveals knowledge. There is no speech, nor are there words where his voice is not heard. Yeah. So you got this, like, God is screaming at us that he is real.
Evidence. Evidence.
Exactly.
Evidence. Right.
So we've got our eyes closed
and we all
and our
know
ears
it.
plugged.
Yeah. And we all know it. Like, whether we admit to knowing it or not, we all innately know it. So there's evidence, number one, for the existence of God in order. Cosmologically, the universe, privileged planet we mentioned last week is really about this, the fine-tuning of every little detail of that which we live in order for there to be life. There's no way.
You can go down a rabbit trail on that whole idea.
Can. Sure.
And I think it was William Lane Craig has a site. I can't remember what it's called, but he goes through some of these. But even like gravity, just one little bink. This, you stop fine tuning these things, or you change them in any way at all, and everything just
it all
implodes.
falls apart.
It all falls apart quickly.
Yeah.
This is not. For this to be just random.
Well,
doesn't make
somebody
any sense.
designed it.
Yeah.
And holds sustains it.
Right.
Yes.
Correct.
It's like there's just no way.
Colossians
You think
1.
about the mess we've made of the world. There's no way any human, no matter how intelligent they are, is able to even remotely come close to sustaining that.
Yeah.
And
then just the idea of order somehow coming from disorder is, we all know that is ridiculous too, but we're going to go with it,
right?
To deny God, right?
Yeah.
So I've used this analogy many times when I was a kid. I wish I knew what Star Wars was going to do in the future, because I would have treated my first generation Star Wars toys much nicer.
Gotcha.
But I would take stormtroopers and I would take my Star Wars figures and strap firecrackers to them and put them in a mailbox. And,
David, I don't know if we can be friends now.
There was never
now that I know that.
There you go.
Stormtroopers.
There was
though.
some money.
There is now. There was never one time that I opened the mailbox after a detonation and saw order. It was more chaos than the order that went in. Right? You never have an explosion or an accident or happenstance create order. It always destroys. It
Well, and that's the
disorders.
second law of thermodynamics. I think it is that
It is.
basically.
Everything's in a state of decay.
Yes.
Yeah, everything's in a state of decay,
Yeah.
and he said that in the video. You
Yes.
know, we have to seek to find order. We have to.
Yes.
It's not going to just show up.
Yes.
You leave something alone, it will rust, it will rot, it will decay,
Yeah.
it will stop working. That's just the way it is.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Order comes
Anything.
from a mind that knows what it's doing.
yes.
That orders order.
Yep.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. So that's number one. I thought that was a good reason that he gave. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Ready to go?
Sure.
Life, in my experience, always comes from life. I don't care if it's plant life, animal life, human life. You never get life out of non-life. In other words, you never get the animate from the inanimate. Therefore, is it more reasonable for me to believe in the beginning God, or is it more reasonable for me to believe in the beginning matter and energy? Because I only see life come from life, never life come from non-life, it's far more plausible, reasonable for me to believe in the beginning God. Third point, the moral argument. I think you've been standing here while I've been articulating it. I am convinced that although there are not many, there are at least a few moral absolutes. Although there's a lot of ethical gray, probably more ethical gray than ethical black and white, there at times is ethical black and white, crystal clear.
Moral absolute.
Moral absolute.
So those are the three reasons.
Those are three.
Order,
Order design, coming from intelligent mind. Life coming from life, not from non-life. Moral absolutes. Fourth one, love.
Okay, stop.
Yeah.
I think that, so speaking of the moral absolutes, this was probably what do we think? It was probably back in the 90s, early 2000s that this debate was going on.
It's pretty hot now.
I
still.
think that, and I think that's changed. I think that many people that are non-believers would say there aren't moral absolutes. That would be their definition of it. They would say that. But if you push that further, you come to recognize they actually do believe in moral absolutes. They just don't want to admit it out loud.
Right.
Right.
That's what I mean by this is still a hot button.
Yeah.
Like when it comes to because we live in a post-truth world, really, but especially our culture.
Yeah.
Our society's post-truth. Relativism is king, right? That's what we live by, and we all champion that until we start having it broken down.
Right.
What that actually means, and then they go, "Well, no, I don't mean that." Right. So you start bringing up, well, Hitler thought he was morally convinced, along with his countrymen, that that he needed to purify these people.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And they would go, well, now you can't, do it like that. And so, of course, it starts to break down really fast when you start looking at examples of what people thought was right.
Well, even saying there are no moral absolutes is a moral absolute.
Yeah, you're right.
Right. That's an absolute statement.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think this, in my mind, in conversations I've had with, I call it other than Christian, the tendency is, this is kind of where the sticking point comes if we press further down, is there's a reality that I don't believe there is a God because I don't want anybody telling me what to do.
Correct.
And I want to live however I want to live.
Right.
And I don't want you telling me what to do either.
Right.
That's where I think, having these respectful debates, defending our faith, I think having those conversations in that manner so that we can push a little bit further into those things and press into their beliefs just to get them to question it. I think that's where those conversations, I think, are really helpful for us, even in developing and defending our faith. But I think they're helpful in pushing in on some of those things. But I think, and I fear, the tendency for Christians is not to push in on those things.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
For sure.
For different reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's a distinction to be made between kind of unbelief and disbelief.
Right.
Like unbelief, agnostic guy might have unbelief, like he's searching and trying to figure it out, and it's not that he's anti, but not pro, like he's trying to figure it out. But,
Well, he has belief, we're going to find, but it's not an objective belief, right? Yeah.
But the person that disbelieves has made an active decision, like it's
Yes.
a rejection of the truth, and to what Brent read earlier, to what God has made plain to us, and it's just a
And that
rejection of
wouldn't
it.
that then be a true atheist?
Yeah.
that has rejected
Yeah, but I
the
think even
truth
people
about
that are
God.
claiming atheism or post-truth kind of stuff, they still want to say we think human rights are important. We think justice is important. We think equality is important. We think taking care of the poor and feeding the hungry is important. And you start to say, well,
that's why the moral
where are
question
these
matters.
moral? Where's this morality
Right.
coming from? Because if you take away a creator and a purpose, a life with a purpose, and all those kinds of things, then all of a sudden racism, sexual sin,
Right.
all the worst things in society are going to just run rampant because why wouldn't they? If this is just about survival of the fittest and there is no morality, no standard,
Yeah.
well, why do we have the fact that morality exists and is kind of agreed upon? I mean, again, there's always evil out there, but the fact that there is morality at all, that tells you that there's some kind of a standard out there
It comes from
that's
somewhere.
it's wired in.
It's something that evolution can't
No.
account for, right? Or natural processes, even if it's not like Darwinian evolution, you can't account for that. If you remove God, you remove a justification for good and evil, which we all know exists, and we all know is too real. But I like how, so number 2, we kind of skipped over because it kind of goes to number 1, right? He starts with cosmology, right? Order. Number 2 was biology. Life doesn't come from non-life, right? Like I can sit and stare at a blade of grass for the next 1 million years if I could, and not watch it, like bring forth life. Like you can't. Well, actually, that was a bad example. A rock. Okay. A rock. But so both of those deal with material, which used to be, I think, the main highway of apologetics was materialism. Like, where did the material universe come from? Where did we come from? But now he's moved to something immaterial, which is morality.
Right.
Next is, after that's going to be love. After that's going to be belief or faith. Like, these are things that are immaterial, which I think is more the highway these days with people, right? Is dealing with that thing we can't put our finger on. Why is that there? Why does that exist? Why are what makes a human being a human being? Yeah. This is kind of where it goes. So,
all right, we're ready to keep rolling?
Yep.
Okay, we're only 2 minutes and 43 seconds into the video, just so everybody knows.
My experience of life is
we don't have to watch the whole
that love is crucial to my marriage, my family, my friendship. Love is a crucial motive in my life. If it's lacking, life turns very sterile, very empty. The only way love can be real is if there is more to reality than matter and energy. There's got to be some type of God who creates us with this innate ability to genuinely love. If there is no God, the Duke University student was correct when he said, love is simply a biological drive to preserve the genetic pool. And I said, sir, do you really think that's what motivates Mother Teresa to work among the dying in Calcutta, India? He said, yes. I have a fundamental disagreement with that. My experience in life is, no. Mother Teresa was motivated by love for the dying in Calcutta, India. That's why she did what she did. Not motivated primarily by a drive to preserve the genetic pool. That's a 4th piece of evidence.
4.
Right.
Do you mind if I ask some questions about that?
So love would follow morality. It's that immaterial thing that's in us. Why is it there? Where does it come from? If there is nothing, if we didn't come from God or a designer or an orderer of life and all that makes up life, then how do you account for these kind of drives and emotions, which actually dictate the human life, right?
Right.
And I know it's kind of confusing. This one's a little weirder, but
well, when I think of what like Darwinism or the idea of natural selection or survival of the fittest, when you have to do whatever it takes to survive, love really doesn't factor into that equation. You could maybe say for the people that your kids or your family or whatever, but it goes away after that. Like I'm taking care of us and nobody else. The fact that love exists in society and is valued the way it is just again points to the fact that there's a creator who is love.
Yes, and we're created in the image and the likeness of God, and so and the Bible says that God is love.
Yes,
like you can't define truly love without defining God.
Yes,
and as human beings are created in his image and in his likeness, we have capacity to love because our creator is love.
Yeah. Which is the pro-God anchor point of his argument of that being a reason why God exists is the Imago Dei.
Right.
It's that we're created in the image of God. That's why we have something like love. It's not something that develops through whatever kind of evolutionary processes that you might, naturalistic processes that you might want to argue for.
God demonstrated his love in that Christ died for us.
Yeah.
Right. He gives us the ultimate demonstration of what love is.
Yeah.
I even think about some of the stuff we do for the most marginalized in society. Again, there's people that can't take care of themselves, widows and orphans, people with disability, the homeless. And why is this thing in us that wants us to try to help them as opposed to just eradicate them? Because again, where does that come from?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's got to be something other than us.
Totally.
Yeah, and I think too that I think one of the greatest demonstrations that we see of God, putting love in us is the reality that we can still love, sort of in spite of some of the difficult people that we've faced that haven't shown love.
Why did you look at me?
But then,
I'm just
well, he pointed to you and he said homeless.
Why
so
did
I
you
don't
look
know
at
why
the
that
David
happened.
when you said that? Sorry.
But I think it's one of those things where, as he talks about even loving your enemies, and the only way that we're able to do that is because of God putting his love in us.
Yes.
I mean, there's no way that
Right.
we can do it humanly speaking,
Yeah.
but I think that the fact that we have the ability to continue to love in spite of ways that we haven't been shown love in our lives is evidence that God is love and he has put that in us. I think that's
So you're saying that we might as well face something
yes.
that we're addicted to love?
Wow.
Yeah.
The lights are on, but
Go.
no one's home.
Going back.
Those
Had
are
to go-
Robert
you had to
Palmer
go
lyrics
there.
to all the
yeah.
all the confused people out there.
I think we sang through every one of his hits.
we're back to
before we
Robert
turned
Is
it
Palmer.
that
on.
5?
Yeah.
So that's number 4. We're definitely gonna, because I think he's gonna backtrack right now.
Right.
And the kid's gonna ask some more questions of the first 4
gonna
before
kinda
he
go-
gets to number 5.
five.
So we'll
right,
run
let's
it
go.
and see.
Go right ahead.
Order. I know a little about computers, not a lot, but a little.
This is a horrible
I
argument.
know there
I
are
felt bad for
computer
him when he was
programs
doing it. I was
that
like,
write
stop! Don't
very
do it."
complicated, very ordered programs that do things, extremely ordered. But I would not go back and say that the program that wrote it is a life, or capable of love, or capable of thought in the way I think of thought. I have seen order that is caused by seemingly disorder or random occurrences. I've seen order that doesn't necessarily come from a cogent willed source. And I've seen order come from a cogent willed source that was very evil, or you would define evil. So, first of all, I would contend that I've seen, or I think I've seen order from chaos, and I know I've seen, or at least I like to think I've seen, order from what you would dictate as evil. So is it order from chaos? And if it's order only from order, why does that necessarily imply a good entity that created this order?
Okay, I have strong disagreements with one point, and I strongly agree with your second point. I think it's rather clear that a computer comes from an intelligent mind. I've never met a computer that just came about by accident. So that computer obviously was ordered by an intelligent mind. So there's no problem with computers. But I think you raise a tremendous issue when it comes to evil. I think you're absolutely correct. I think it's totally possible that this intelligent mind is a warped Scrooge.
Okay. What was the second reason now? Just to get it
Okay,
right?
second thing is life comes from life, not from non-life.
That one's harder for me. I'm not a biologist, but I know that there's a lot of theories that say that given the right materials, the right electric charge, so to speak, and the right atmosphere, we can create proteins, we can create enzymes, we can create complex molecules, and from that...
Can we just say real quick how much more faith you need to believe in evolutionary processes and the perfect circumstance?
Well, and even he gets
and
to
time?
the point where the lightning comes. I'm like, well, who created the lightning?
Right, yeah, where did that come
You've
from?
always got to have a cause,
Right.
if you've got an effect, and at some point you've got to acknowledge that. Where did the cause come from?
Yeah.
And if you can't get there,
Naturalism can never put their thumb on a cause, and they know it. They know that that's actually the Achilles heel.
no. So they
that's
add
the
in
problem.
billions of years. That's the answer.
But even with billions of years, you have to have
but
a
it
cause,
stretches it out so far that it's like, okay, maybe we can. That's what it takes.
But it's funny that when you hear somebody like he's kind of, hypothesizing on right here, it sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
It sounds so ridiculous that it's like it's easy which one seems more probable.
Right.
Right.
Well,
I don't
and
have
again,
enough
the
faith
heart
to
of the
be an
matter
atheist.
comes back to what you said. Intelligent design makes way more sense.
Yep.
It's a lot easier to believe, takes less faith to
Way
believe.
more believable.
The
Way more
implications
probable.
of that oh wow,
That's what people
what
think.
what if this
Yeah.
intelligent designer is personal, and
Right.
what if he wants
Right.
something from me, and what if
Yes.
I have to change my life?
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is
that's where the rub is.
It's
Yeah,
like-
we don't have an unbelief problem. We have a rebellion problem.
Right.
Yes.
So right.
That is Romans 1, and
Yes.
it's
100%.
basically
Suppressing
it's
the
the whole
truth.
biblical description of man's starting point.
Yep.
Is he's at enmity with God. Like that. That's what.
and it's
it
crazy
is.
to think that people with the the brilliant minds, that it should be just obvious. It's obvious. They'll still deny it
Yep.
because they
Yes.
don't want a God.
When you think about
Human
suppressing
nature.
the truth, you got to keep having something to keep suppressing the truth.
You
Right.
got to keep pressing
Yeah,
it
it's not
down.
a once and done thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it keeps revealing itself. Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Every night when you walk out and look at the message and the stars.
You're like,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, let me go get a joint.
All right. Keep going.
This.
Keep an eye on how Cliff tackles this question. The student brings up a really thought-provoking point
Get
that
it out.
many of us might be wondering about, so there's a lot to learn
That is
from
a
Cliff's
voice right there.
response.
Okay, and my point would be, I would not be shocked if scientists created life. Because that's exactly what I believe. Intelligent mind creates life. My point is, you've got to have the intelligent mind there. You don't just have life coming out of non-life by accident.
You don't think it's possible, even remotely possible, even infinitesimally remotely possible, that in some
you're saying
primordial
there's a chance.
pool,
I like that word.
a lightning strike
Infinitesimally.
struck a complex of molecules that created an enzyme that then allowed us to evolve into this over billions of years.
Anything is possible.
Possible.
Correct.
I like this response.
Anything is possible.
Give it to him.
But more probable
statistically-
for the God?
Exactly. You see, for me as a thinking human being, the question is, what is most plausible in light of the evidence?
Third point was?
Third point was moral absolutes.
I don't have a counter for that. Fourth,
Fourth point was love.
Moving on.
Next.
that I don't understand. And I'd really benefit if you could explain it to me.
Sure.
I don't understand what you mean by it. And I've never experienced what you're talking about. And I'm fairly happy with my life.
All right. What I'm talking about is, in the 60s, there was a riot at the Sorbonne, the French university in Paris. And a young man walked up to a bearded man and said, "Excuse me, sir, what are you rioting about?" The bearded man said, "I'm protesting this lousy world." The young man asked, "Do you believe in God?" The man said, "No, I'm an atheist." The young man asked, "Do you love anyone?" Bearded man lowered his head and said, "Yes, I love a woman by whom I've had a child, and she's dying of leukemia." Young man said, "Well, if she's dying of leukemia, why don't you ditch her and go out and get some other fox who turns you on a little more?"
Fox.
Bearded man hauled back and almost hit the young guy. The young guy said, "Excuse me, sir, you said there is no God." Well, if there is no God, there is no innate human ability to genuinely care for somebody else. And if this woman is losing her ability to sexually excite you because her body's falling apart due to leukemia, why don't you go out and get some other fox who turns you on a little more? And then the young man pulled out a Gospel of John where we read that there is a God, and this God is love. And when he created you and me in his image, in his likeness, he placed within you and me the innate ability to love. So every atheist loves, every agnostic loves, every theist loves. Why? Because we're human beings, not machines. We're human beings created in the image and likeness of God.
Is that love the only emotion that God put in us, or are all of
No.
our emotions from God?
No, God gave us emotions, but due to our sin, we can twist those emotions. The classic example is anger. There's nothing wrong with anger. Confronted by evil, God is angry. Confronted by evil, I should be angry. That's moral indignation. That's righteous anger. But in my selfishness, in my sinfulness, I twist anger and I lose my temper with someone because they step in front of me at the line at the airport. Don't they know who they just stepped in front of? And so I explode in a selfish type of anger, and that's sinful.
We tie this with your creation ex nihilo argument, creation from nothing, and a counter to it. Everything here from God. Was there anything before God? Was there any before God?
God is eternal, so there's nothing before God.
Everything from God.
Not everything from God. Because God has given you and me gifts of creativity, obviously God did not make your jacket or eyeglasses. Obviously God did not build that building. And obviously if I go up to him and kick him in the jaw, that's not God kicking him in the jaw. Or if I go up to him and pull my wallet out and give him a dollar, it's not God giving him a dollar. So because God has given you and me gifts of creativity, we can create. And we do all the time.
So then, some things from God, some from man. Man used in a general sense, male, female.
Yeah, God's given us gifts of creativity.
And as far as the moral absolutes go, you say there's some.
He's going to try it again.
Where do I find them?
2 places. First of all, you go to your conscience. And secondly, you ask, has God revealed a standard that I can measure my conscience against? Jesus Christ claimed that he was that standard, that is.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I was tapping.
You tapped. I thought,
Biblical teachings are that standard.
Number 2.
You can find them in the Sermon on the Mount, Matthew 5 through 7. You can find them in the 10 Commandments, Exodus 20.
My conscience, the first one.
And then we'll shut
First
it.
one, conscience, right.
That troubles me. My conscience guides my behavior very differently from what I would assume you would guide it as yourself.
That's right.
I'm extremely selfish.
This dude's a gift.
Almost exclusively act in my own
I
interest.
want to talk to this
That's
guy.
right.
That
next
is how
week.
my conscience guides me.
Uh-huh. Well, I dare say, though, that occasionally you experience guilt.
It's like,
Maybe not often, but occasionally. My point is,
Really, guilt.
you've never experienced guilt?
Not guilt. I've regretted my actions in the sense that they didn't have the outcome I thought they were. They weren't as beneficial to me as I thought they would be. That's regret.
That's too honest.
Not guilt.
All right. Speaking for myself, at times I have experienced guilt, which means I am convinced that what I did was wrong.
Compared to something other than your conscience?
Well, all I know is I experience guilt. My conscience informs me of it.
And these 4 reasons that you've given, you feel, make it more probable that
Here's the
there
fifth.
is a God than that there isn't.
Correct. And then there's another one.
Okay.
Your agnosticism.
Okay?
It is an intellectual option to be an agnostic. It is a practical impossibility.
Okay, let's cut that.
Every day.
Well, I guess we could have let it develop. Intellectual option, but
practical impossibility.
practical impossibility. And yeah, we should have let it run because he's going to get into the fact that we all have an epicenter of our faith, of our belief, regardless of acting like we don't. Right, there's something that drives
it's the
us.
Romans 1 thing
that drives our world. We all believe in something, whether it's ourselves or somebody else or a system or God. And then, of course, why is that there? Is his number 5. I should have let it run. I shouldn't have stopped.
Way to go.
There.
All right,
Unless you guys want to.
You have to make priorities. Every day you have to make ethical decisions. And your priorities in life and your ethical decisions in life show very clearly you're not agnostic. You believe something, you believe in someone. That has motivated you to set the priorities that you have. I obviously don't know what those are. What you believe in has obviously motivated you to invest your money the way you do, your time the way you do. So there are many people who can say, I'm agnostic, I don't know. But practically, the way you live your life shows that you believe something.
So then would it be more honest of me to say, practically, I believe in me?
And yes, correct.
Then I may have misinterpreted agnosticism. I took it and have taken it to mean, I don't know what's there. I'm not going to make any decision about it. I'll listen to whoever has something to say and see what I think.
Right, and I think intellectually you can do that. But now, you have to go out and live your life. And the way you live your life shows whether you acknowledge God or not. See, that's the embarrassing thing about what we're talking about out here. The embarrassing thing about what we're talking about here is, it's not like, do you like black leather or brown leather jackets? Which is totally an issue of your own preference. Do you like Pepsi or Coke? Because you see, it really doesn't matter whether you like a brown leather jacket or a black leather jacket, whether you like Pepsi or Coke. Those are rather inconsequential issues. But the issue of God's existence is not along the lines of Pepsi and Coke, black and brown leather jackets. It's an issue that goes right to the heart of human existence, because it's an issue of what is the meaning and purpose of your life? Why do you live your life ethically the way you do? And what about life after death? Are you ever going to have to answer to anybody for the way you lived your life? You see, so due to the grievously serious nature of the issues that are all wrapped up in God's existence, although I can say, I don't know whether God exists or not, the way I live my life, the meaning I attach to my life, the ethical decisions I make in my life, Tackle will tell you what I believe about reality.
Thank you so much for sticking around until the...
So that was number 5. So reasons that he gave for why he believes in God, cosmology, right? Order and design of the cosmos. Number 2, life comes from life, biology, moral absolutes, right and wrong, right? God's, we have standards as a human race. 4, love, image of God. And then number 5 at the end, if you didn't catch that, because it was kind of a weird one, we'll close by maybe unpacking it a little bit, is faith or belief system. We all have a faith or belief system, right. And of course our Bible tells us why. And it's because we were all, once again, created by God to worship. We are worshipers, whether we're agnostic, whether we're atheist, whatever. We all look to something to fulfill us, satisfy us, save us, quote unquote, in a way. And that's basically what he was pulling at the end, is that we do worship, and we have an innate desire as human beings to bow to something and look to something for our purpose, our meaning. All that stuff, even if it's ourselves.
Right.
So
yeah, we all live as if God does or doesn't exist.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. And what's funny too is a lot of people will have a problem with the faith issue as far as a reason why they have a problem with belief or Christianity, is that they need something tangible. But part of what he kind of was bringing out there or hinting at is that we all function in faith, with faith every day,
right?
In just menial things, right? So when we're driving down the road, we have faith, whether it's conscious or not, that the car coming the other way is going to stay in its lane. We have faith that our restaurants are going to cook our food properly and handle our food properly when they stick it up.
Not all of us have that faith.
Okay, I do. I think about it often. So we actually function moment to moment. If we didn't function at basic levels of faith every day, daily, we wouldn't leave the house.
We wouldn't do anything.
Right. We'd be what about Bob? Was that the movie? Bill Murray. Yeah. Like we would baby steps to the bathroom, baby. You know what I mean? And so we do use it. And so I think his argument is if we use it necessarily to do the most basic things in life, how in the world can we not use it for the greatest thing?
Right.
When it comes to God, when it comes to purpose, when it comes to where we're going and what happens next, and that's just that's not bad, because we all function with faith.
We're hardwired to have faith.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Now, what that faith is in and where it's directed, that's another story. But
Yeah,
we're
for
all
sure.
hardwired to have faith. We're all hardwired
And
to
that's the
worship
point.
someone or something. It's not something we turn on or off. It's just something that we direct in any given
Sure.
moment in life, and we would do well to realize that.
For sure. So those were Cliff's reasons. I don't know if I would have answered the same way, but I like. There's some good ones here. I like having to think about it though.
Sure.
Because I do like getting in conversations. We try to go public places often, and usually when I'm out, I try to get in conversations with people, and a lot of times God gives them to me. Usually they're not that kind. I mean, homie just walked into depravity, and it was just like, oh, bro, just take it, just grab that lamp, that low hanging fruit.
I'm all about me.
Yeah.
Like,
He could have went on that one, but
I'm pushed back a little bit on his thought about like the two things. Like one is the conscience. Like,
no.
I would
that we have a conscience, like we're hardwired by God to have a conscience, but that our conscience is our guide is maybe a little bit, like we're depraved.
Sure.
And so our conscience isn't the best guide.
Sure.
Not saying we should throw it out altogether, but it isn't the best guide.
I think it connects to moral absolutes a little bit. I mean, what he was saying, but there's a different there are different lines, parameters in people's conscience what they're able to do and
Right.
not do. But the law of God written on the heart is
I
real.
mean, we all have a sense that there's good and evil.
Yes.
There are truth and there are lies. There are,
Yeah.
there's there is this thing that our conscience does recognize, even though it's extremely subjective to us.
Sure.
We're
Yeah.
pretty biased when
Right.
it comes to the way we view things, so
Yeah.
you can't trust it.
Yeah.
But it definitely is something you can point to and say, why do you think when evil is done against you, why do you recognize it as evil?
That's a better way of what I was
That's
trying
the
to say.
conscience.
Well,
But better said.
Well, and the Bible talks about the fact that it can be seared as well.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's an aspect where it can be trained towards good or evil.
Sure.
Just depending on how we've been raised. Sometimes, So I think it's. I don't know that's the best argument that I would use.
Yeah,
for it,
that
but I
guy's
get
just like,
where
I've
the
never been
basis
guilty
is
for anything in my whole life. I mean, that's
Yeah, I mean, our
he
conscience-
says
He
seared
regret,
conscience,
but,
right?
yeah.
Our conscience could be changing, evolving, deceitful, right? Because it's also tainted due to the fall. So what would be
Yeah.
what would be your response to that? Like when the kid asked, "Okay, how do we know, what's morally right and wrong?" What would you say?
Well, I mean, I think that the fact that there is absolute truth.
Yeah.
I think that's, in my mind, that's an incredible argument to fathom, because you can
Yeah.
press that. I mean, you can press it as far as you want
Right.
to go, and you can press that into somebody to say, so you actually do believe in absolute
Right.
truth, because you believe if somebody breaks into your house,
Yeah.
then they should be arrested because they stole whatever, right? You can press it in, and I think that in my mind, that's one of the most powerful arguments to.
See, I would punch the guy in the nose and say, "Was that wrong?"
Yeah.
And he would say, but as he's crying and blood's running down, he says, "Yeah, that was wrong."
Yeah.
What do you base that on? No, I'm just kidding.
While you're running away with his wallet.
Is this wrong? Yeah. Do you believe in right and wrong? Oh, so there are absolutes. Give me my wallet. Exactly.
Oh, dang.
We solved it.
Yeah. I do think there is a sixth one that again, it doesn't prove.
Oh, there
God
could be more or
exists.
less.
Well,
I mean,
just
yeah.
one that I think is kind of obvious, and it's
Yeah.
personal experience and transformation of Christian. When you think about what I was and what I am now,
Yeah.
Right.
to me, it's an evidence, and we see it all the time with people that they're not the person they were before because Christ entered the picture, and that the transformation of lives throughout history.
Yeah.
Of Christian people who have become new creatures and changed who they fundamentally were, Christ changed who they were, is a testimony that Christ is alive and real and that God exists.
I think it's more powerful of a reason when someone else is explaining your change.
Yes.
I've gotten away and from the experiential. I do like it if I'm talking to someone else who's another Christian. I find that we have good fellowship that way. There's good encouragement that way. For a non-believer, I don't find that it has a lot of legs personally.
Yeah.
Because we all are walking around every day in this world like living off of our experiences or believing something off our experiences, and most of them are bad, right? Like experience is still an experience. Plus the self, like I've seen some jacked up people apart from Christianity, like go into self-help programs and improve greatly where you're like, dang, I can't believe this. You know what I mean? So like even the transformation part of it can, I don't know, to me it has holes. If I was a
I think they
non-believer.
all have holes in
Yeah,
this
no,
out
for
there.
for sure.
But I think it's another one that I
Yeah.
especially like my brother just the other day when he was here, we were
Yeah.
sitting and hanging out, and he was telling a group of people that were hanging out with us who I used to
So
be
that's
and who
strong,
I am now.
because he was doing
And he couldn't explain
That's
this,
strong.
that my brother has changed and he didn't know what it was, and for him it was an evidence of the reality
That's
of
strong.
God.
Yeah.
And so there's those times when
Oh, sure.
personal experience and testimony
sure.
are strong
No, for
apologetics
sure.
for this.
Well, Paul uses his story several times in the book of Acts, so it means something. Like he thought that it was valuable enough to share his experience, and of course he was, because most of those people knew who Paul was
Right.
before and after, and it was like,
Yes.
wow, this is a miracle.
Yeah,
This isn't something that happens.
Yeah, it's not like the card you throw down on
No,
the
no,
table
no,
and say, I
No, it's got its place. Let's say that.
but it's something
It's
else,
got
yeah.
its place for sure.
Yep.
So, yeah.
It's like the blind man in John 9. He's like, I don't know. All I know is
Yeah, I was blind,
once
now I
I was
see.
blind,
Yeah.
now I can see.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Well, even the movement, right? So you've got the testimony at large of followers of Christ in their history, dying for this thing. Like, why in the world would
Right,
this
that
group
says
of
something.
why in the world would this group of people do that, right? So that is kind of experiential. It's very telling,
Right.
And so no, there's definitely validity there. But I personally don't usually do that for myself,
Right.
Where it's like I used to be like this and now I'm like this, and
The David? I would
The
think you do
David.
it all the time.
I used to just be David.
Now I'm the David.
Just tell people
And then
that.
God gave me a
Yeah.
new name.
Yeah, that's
You're
not,
like-
that's not nothing right there.
You're like the dude,
The dude.
You are
the David abides.
Yeah, exactly.
David Abide.
Anyway, there's some more stuff to think about. If someone ever asks you why you believe in God, these like Brent just said, aren't all of them. These were just the ones that we chose to listen to this guy talk about today, and a few of them are legit. So
Yeah.
consider those
Hopefully it
and
was helpful.
know why you believe what you believe. I mean, it's just, that's kind of what this was about. So
Yeah.
all right,
Amen.
let's go eat.
Amen.
All right. Someone to pray for us?
Yeah, Lord, thank you for the fact that you've made who you are perfectly clear. Lord, we can just walk around and look anywhere and see the heavens declaring that there is a God. Thank you that you're not only evident, but that you're personal and that you desire a relationship, and you've made a way to have a relationship with us, Lord. What a gift. So help us not to take that for granted. Help us to be prepared when people do ask us questions that are hard to have answers, because there are good answers. And thank you so much again for your kindness to us and for this day that's ahead of us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Amen.